Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Midwest Mythos. And guys, we are back with the interviews. We are back with a whole new energy about this. Last couple weeks, as you all may have heard, I started a new job and I've had to reschedule a bunch of stuff and it just hasn't worked out. That's why you've gotten 2 solo episodes in a row. But guys, tonight I got an awesome guest lined up for you. We're going to have a lot of fun. But before we get into that, guys, thank you for all the support. Like I said, we hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. Really appreciate all the love and support you guys are giving on all the platforms. If you or anybody you know want to hop on the show, like tonight's guest, you know how to reach out to me. It's in the link down below. And something I found out the other night while just hopping on, I did a couple shows, Sunday night double play, and then speaking in code, co-ed. I am the first, when you type in Midwest Mythos, if you have a hard time finding me, I am the first 3 pages on Google if you type it in. So you ain't got to look too hard, just a couple letters here and there we go. But enough about me. Let's introduce our guest tonight, Tommy from the Let's Get Freaky podcast. How's it going tonight,
my
brother?
I'm really good, man. I'm excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me, man.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. I've been excited for this ever since we got something in the books. I've been looking at the calendar like, when am I talking to Tommy? Let's go.
Oh, thank you, bro. And congratulations on the new job.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm loving it, and it's gonna open up a lot of doors for me to be able to do more podcast stuff and a lot more travel because I get insanely discounted flights.
Wow, that's cool, man.
Oh yeah, so
Awesome, brother. Awesome. You got to come over to the UK sometime.
I want to so bad. My cousin's uncle, he's from the UK, and I've just all my life heard him tell me stories about growing up in London and stuff. He's like, you ever get the chance, you got to go out there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, that's where I'm from Essex, which is right next to London. But I used to work in London. Essex and London are pretty much the same. So yeah, that's where I'm from, man. Yeah, you got to come. There's a lot of spooky stuff going on over here, brother.
Oh, I know, man. That's what I want to check out. And I'm into architecture so much, and you guys over there just have some of the greatest architecture on the entire planet. And I would just love to go over there and just stare at buildings for a month straight.
Well, there's a castle. I'm based in Dorset now, which is about 2 hours from London, and there's a castle about 15 minutes down the road from me called Corfe Castle, and it's over 1,000 years old. Like, it's beautiful. It's mainly ruins now. You know, a lot of it's fallen down through battles, and you know, but it's absolutely it's a beautiful place, and it's meant to be. You know, I know every castle in the UK and in the world, and every pub as well in the UK claims to be the most haunted, but apparently this is it's up there with one of the most haunted castles. It's in the top 10 apparently. I don't know how they regulate that, but apparently it is.
Go check that out. But why don't you tell everybody where you're from? I know I gave you a tiny little intro to you, but let everybody know where they can find you and what you're about.
Yeah, so wherever you get your podcast, Let's Get Freaky podcast. Like you, we love all the strange, paranormal, supernatural. I have guests on that come on mainly to share experiences, but we also get into conspiracies as well, and all the freaky stuff, man. I love just like you, meeting new people, talking to people, learning a little bit about them and their experiences, normally paranormal. But yeah, man, wherever you get your podcast, we're also on YouTube as well, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube as well, and most podcast platforms you can find us.
Go give them some love. Pause this right now. Go give them a 5-star review. Drop a comment. Let them know who sent you, and then come tune back in because we're about to get into some wild fun.
We're gonna get freaky. We're gonna get freaky, man.
Yes. So, I know we talked a tiny bit beforehand, and we were trying to gauge, what are we going to talk about tonight? And then you said you had some experiences. So I figured tonight, let's hear some of your experiences. You can go in any order you want, best order.
Man, but there's been quite a few. to say the least. It's one of those. I've experienced a lot, but I kind of think that where I am right now with the paranormal, obviously I don't know what is going on. My opinion changes every day with the paranormal and the supernatural. What it is, I don't know. But I feel like when you look into this sort of stuff, it looks back. That is my opinion. I feel like once you step through that rabbit hole, and you start looking at these things and conspiracies, paranormal, it looks back, man, and it can be dangerous sometimes. That's for sure. I used to be scared. Like, before I started the podcast, I used to listen to other shows, and I used to think, man, should I be listening to this? Am I opening some doors? Because I've always believed and been open in the supernatural. I've always, since day one, since I was a little kid, I was one of those strange kids that was like, I know a lot of kids are scared of the dark, but I'm still scared of the dark now. And I was always one of those kids that felt like something was in the room, and I always knew that there was more. I don't know what it is, but we grew up in what I would say was a haunted house. That's probably a big reason why I do Let's Get Freaky podcast, because we were sort of thrown into it very early on. I mean, it wasn't a super negative experience growing up in this haunted house. There was some times where it was very negative, and I was, as I say, always scared of the dark. And if I ever woke up through the night, I was straight in bed with my mum and dad. I was one of those kids. A very scared kid, and I still am today, really, to be honest. But the kind of stuff that used to happen, very typical with your haunted houses. You'd hear weird noises through the night, as if people are walking around, and there's no one up. No one's walking around, but you'd hear someone walking around. Things used to go missing, and then pop up, stuff like that. Just weird stuff, and the whole family felt it. It wasn't just me. The whole family had that feeling of there's something more in this house. And sometimes there was a negative feeling, but we had great times in that house as well. It wasn't always, terrible. But when we left the house, I remember, because me and my brother were quite young, so we never talked about it openly, about it being haunted. But I remember I was 12 when we left the house, and I remember my dad saying, "I'm so glad we got out of that house. Something wasn't right." And we was there for a few years. It wasn't like, I think we moved in there when I was like 6 or something, 5 or 6. And then we left when I was 12. So we was there for, 6 years or whatever it was. And so we spent a big chunk of our childhood there. But the main kind of experience that really sort of stands out at that house, that was sort of the moment that, there was no doubt in my mind that there's monsters in the dark, if you like. Me and my brother shared a room, and we had bunk beds in our room. And as I say, I was one of those kids that if I woke up through the night, I was straight out of bed, in my mum and dad's room, not going back in the room on my own. And they would normally give up and let me just stay in the middle of their room, in the middle of their bed. They'd just give up. And on this particular night, I woke up, and it was dark in my room. No, they used to leave like the corridor lights on, or a light on in the room, just to settle me down. But I woke up and there was no lights on in the room, but you could see light coming in from the outside street light. So it wasn't pitch black. I could see the room. I could see the layout of the room. And I've got up and I've looked in the corner of my room, and me and my brother had like a desk in the corner, and there was a man sitting there at my desk, full-bodied apparition, entity, just sitting there sort of with his head in his fist, kind of looking in my direction, but I don't know if he was actually looking at me, but he was sort of looking towards me, and I could just see him like so clear. Like, it wasn't see-through. He wasn't, it was just like there was a man there. I wasn't even thinking ghost straight away. It was like, there's a man in my room. And I just remember the fear just going through me. It was terrifying, obviously. And yeah, and this guy, I say that he looked like William Shakespeare. Like, he had that sort of vibe. He had like long brown hair, had like a little beard, had like a brown suit on with like, like the white, I don't know what they call it, that the white,
that collar, frilly collar.
Yeah, just a weird, just look from that era. I'm not saying it was William Shakespeare, but he had that vibe. He had big brown boots on. Like, I could really see him like perfectly clear. He wasn't glowing. I say this, he wasn't glowing, but it was like I could see like he was wearing a brown suit, you know, and I could see his hair and his beard and everything. So I'm terrified. I'm shouting for my mum. Mum. I didn't even want to get out of the bed because, you know, I was just terrified. And my mum's come in the room, and I'm pointing to the corner. There's a man. There's a man. I can still see him. He's not disappeared. He's not even moved. You know, as far as I'm aware, he's not even blinked. You know, nothing's changed, but he's there. And my mum's calming me down, and she's going up to she's gone up to where he was. I don't know if she's gone through him or anything like that. I couldn't see that, but she couldn't see him. And she's come back to me and she's going, calm down. There's no one there. And at this point, so my mum will say she was getting fed up with me waking up during the night and getting in bed with her. And she's thinking that's just what I'm aiming to do. And she's like, you're staying in your room. There's no one. And she got quite annoyed. And I could still see this dude, you know, he'd not moved, and I'm still terrified. And she says, "You're staying in your room." And I just remember going under my covers because I kind of gave in, went under my covers, and I was just sweating with fear. And my mum will listen to this and she'll ring me up and apologise because every time I do a podcast and share this experience, she always says sorry that she made me stay in that room. But it's okay, mum, if you're listening, I'm over it. It's probably why I do the podcast and I'm interested in all this stuff. But anyway, so I've gone under the covers, completely sweating, and I kept looking. I kept looking to see if this guy was still there, and he was still there. As far as I can remember, I've done this multiple times, and I was terrified, you know, and I just remember I was crying, sweating underneath my covers. Somehow I fell asleep, woke up the next morning, and the guy wasn't there, then he was gone. And I never saw that dude ever again. It was a one-time thing. But for me, you know, people say to me, oh, possibly you were dreaming, you know, possibly you were seeing something that wasn't there. But I did wake up many times in my childhood and think I saw something and possibly did, possibly didn't. This time was definite. You know, there's no doubt in my mind that I saw something and that there was a man there. Whether I was seeing, you know, a trapped energy from the past or whether I was seeing, you know, an entity that was living in that moment, I don't know what it was, but there was something there. And yeah, man, for me, that was the moment that I was like, I was right. This house is weird.
Yeah,
There's a lot going on.
that's so wild. And I really like how you brought up the fact that you couldn't see, like, it was a very solid apparition. And just from, very similar to you, man. I've been into this stuff very, very young age. I've heard so many stories of from over on your side of the pond of like the apparitions are very, very solid. They're not, you don't see through them very often at all. But when you get over here, like everybody's like, oh, they're like very misty, translucent, and stuff like that. And I've always kind of wondered why that is. I don't know if it's just because, like, land wise, maybe it's so much more, everything's, history is so much more condensed over there. Just like s- a lot of stuff happens on the same spot over and over again compared to here where everything's kind of spread out. Like, yeah, every once in a while stuff happens on the same spot, but pretty much everything is like virgin soil when it comes to that. So I don't know, maybe that has something to it. But w- another thing with it, your mom not being able to see it, but you, I I'm a firm believer that children can see through the veil so much more quick, like better than us. Cause like even I got a 10-month-old daughter tomorrow.
Oh, bless, man.
That's, and I just see her like, I mean, babies just stare, but like she'll stare and kind of like follow stuff all the time. And I'm just like, I wonder what she's actually looking at right now. Like
Mm.
I don't feel anything negative, so I don't get worried about her or anything. Like maybe she's looking at like an angel or something like that that's watching over us. But it's just I've heard so many stories of children
Uh-huh.
like 7 and under seeing stuff and their parents can't see anything at all.
Yeah, kids, and animals, and when you think about it, it's the two things that are not influenced, you know, by, you know, when you get older, you're told this stuff is not real. and when you're a kid, you're told it's not real, and that is only because the parents are trying to protect you. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're told that, and I think you're conditioned to, and that's why a lot of people kind of switch off to the paranormal, and then maybe don't experience anything. But a lot of the times, how many times you meet someone that when they was a kid they had some sort of experience, even someone that says they don't believe in this kind of stuff,
Mhm.
9 times out of 10 they'll say, but there was this one time when I was a kid and I woke up and there was a lady sitting on the end of my bed. The amount of times I've heard that exact story is unbelievable. And there's something to that, man. And obviously at the time they're told, no, you were dreaming, you didn't see that. And I guess that's good because you don't want your kids to experience scary stuff. Of course you don't, and you don't want there to be monsters or any dark energy or anything like that. But you know, this stuff is there, man. It's definitely there, and yeah,
Yeah. See, my daughter, and then whenever I decided if my wife and I have more children, unfortunately, they're not gonna get that. Oh, monsters and stuff ain't kind of real. They're gonna.
yeah,
I mean, my shelf behind me, I got Bigfoot footprint. I got pictures of like, I got UFO stuff, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not gonna sit there and like lie, but I'm
yeah,
like, the stuff is real. It's okay to talk about it. Most people won't want to talk about it or think that you're crazy. Dad won't think you're crazy, and a lot of dad's friends won't think you're crazy. And there is ways to handle a lot of this kind of
yeah.
stuff.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I've got 3 kids, so I know and I don't. I try and keep them away from obviously hearing the stuff I talk about, because it's going to freak them out.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, that they'll tell me that they've seen something or experienced something, and I don't say to them that you didn't see that. That's not real. I'd be a hypocrite if I said that to them.
Uh-huh.
But I do. Obviously, we try and protect our kids and try and keep them away from that as much as we can. Of course, I
Yeah.
mean the room that I'm in now, my studio, my little studio here. This was my 2 daughters' bedroom before it was my studio, and they had bunk beds in the room as well, and they were having terrible sleeps in it. They wouldn't sleep. They were waking up all through the nights like I used to, and were saying that they were seeing shadows and stuff. And I don't. A lot of weird. I'm sure we'll get to it. A lot of weird stuff has happened in this house, but I don't get a super negative feeling. There has been periods where there's been negative, but generally it's a lovely house. I've got no issues with it. But I decided to take them out of the room and put them in another room, and they're happy in there now. They're sleeping well and stuff. So you know, it, there's something to it, man. And weird stuff happens in this room still, but this is the freaky room, so it's okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Oh man, you came off. You came out strong with that one, man.
Well, I saw other things in that house as well. So obviously that man, that entity, whatever he was that I saw in my room, never saw him again. So I never saw that particular ghost, whatever it was. But my brother in the same room. See, my brother's a lot more skeptical than me. So he'll say, yeah, I did see this. And it's right to be skeptical. Like, I jump to the paranormal all the time because it fascinates me and I love it. And I do need to sometimes go, okay, let's think, what else could it be? I admit I do always jump to the paranormal very quickly. I get very excited, but my brother's a lot more skeptical, and he remembers this experience, and he remembers the house. We all remember the house being haunted, but he's one of those that's still like, yeah, but it could have been, could have been something else. But he's one of those guys. But
Yeah.
even though he's had quite a few experiences himself, but he remembers in that room waking up during the night, same kind of scenario, all black in the room, all dark, and he saw 2 red eyes, which would have been from the same sort of area that I saw the man, and they were floating towards him, just 2 red eyes floating towards him, and obviously he was terrified, and they just disappeared in front of him, and that was what he saw in that house. Um, and he stands by that, but at the same time, he's still like, I could be dreaming. I could have been, you know, which it could have been. I'm not saying it's definitely something supernatural, but it's another strange thing that happened there. And another experience that I experienced when physically seeing something in that house. So this was probably a little while after seeing that man in my room. I was in my mum and dad's room during the day. So it was during the day, light in the room, perfectly lit up. And my mum and dad had like mirrors in their room. And I was like dancing in front of this mirror and just can't really remember why I was in there, but I was just being a bit silly as a kid. And I was in her room and I saw, so I think I saw it in the mirror first, and then I turned. A naked lady walked past me, a naked blonde lady, right? And my mum and dad had a bathroom in their room, so this lady walked past me, and I followed her into the bathroom. Now my mum's blonde, and it wasn't too unusual for her to walk around the house in the nude. Sorry, mum, but so I just thought it was my mum. So I started talking to her, mum, saying whatever I was saying. Walked to the bathroom, just expecting her to be in there because I've just watched her walk into the bathroom, and walked in, and there was no one in there. And I was like, what? Like, where? And I just remember being like so shocked because I'd just seen her walk past me. So I ran downstairs. My mum's in the kitchen, fully clothed. And I was like, Mum, did you just walk past me in the bed? And she's like, obviously not, no. And I was like, I just remember being really confused. But I definitely saw, and that, again, that was another solid, whatever it was a solid form. It wasn't ghostly or anything like that. It was a solid entity, whatever it was. And some people, so I never, at the time, I'd never thought it could have been this, but someone recently said to me, sounds like a doppelganger. And I'm like, it does sound like that. And I never kind of, and this is what's so good about sharing paranormal experiences, because, I didn't think doppelganger. I just thought it was something that looked like my mum. But maybe it was maybe it was trying to um, show itself as my mum to me. I don't know, but that was another thing that I saw in that house that was kind of undeniable to me.
Dude, that's wild. I I'm starting to get a little like weirded out, like kind of scared,
I'm
and it's
sorry,
a
man.
little anxious. Not because that exactly, but because the last three conversations that I have had, doppelgangers have came up, and I have never talked about them at all up until this last week. It has
Interesting.
the last 5 days. Doppelgangers have came up,
Do you
and
know, I've found that happens. I don't know what it is, but because, like, I'm probably the same as you. I don't plan how episodes are going to go. I just interview cool people, interview like anyone. I'll talk to anyone that wants to talk paranormal and share experiences.
yeah,
I don't think I want a dogman experience this week or I want a Bigfoot experience. It just happens. But what seems to happen a lot is you'll get like clusters of experiences in like a couple of weeks that are all very similar. And you're like, you don't plan that to happen, but it just for some reason happens. And it's very strange, man.
yeah, it is. I can't even necessarily remember what we were even talking about to make it come to that, and I'm just like, man, my skin's starting to crawl a little bit, man. I well, I've had my fair share of experiences throughout my life, and typically when I talk about something and something keeps on coming up, something does eventually happen.
No.
So it's like that's why I'm kind of like, man, I need to start paying attention. Like I'm
Yeah.
start really praying for discernment,
Yeah.
you
Start
know,
praying
stuff
up,
like
brother. Start praying up, man. Yeah, that's for sure.
that.
I can, I can tell you another doppelganger possibility, which at the same time, again, I never put the words doppelganger to this, but someone else said doppelganger to me, and I was like, yeah, of course, of course. So this is jump into now. Okay, these experiences I jump into. Well, I say now, quite recently, about 6 months ago. So we moved to Dorset, where I am now, about 3.5 years ago now. Um, just after 2020, we was like, we want to go somewhere else. and be by the sea and stuff like that. So that's why we moved here. Eventually, I want to move to the US. That's my next step. But we're in Dorset right now. We're in Dorset right now. If you'll have me, and then so we moved to Dorset, moved to a new house, and again didn't get a bad feeling from, and I still don't get a bad feeling from this house. But weird things do happen in here, and it seems to go through like spells of, you'll get a couple of months where a lot of things happen, and it's like everyone's freaking out, and then it's nothing happens for a little while, and then it happens again. And I'm not sure if that is, if it's the house, if it's the location, or if it's just because these things, the supernatural is all around us anyway. And if you, as I said, I feel like if you look into it, it looks back. And I think, as much as I love these conversations, and I'll always do the Freaky podcast, I love it. But I do think at the same time, you do invite some negative energy as well. And I think that's what we did, or what I did. So about 6 months ago, or it was probably last summer, actually, like August last year, there was just a spell in the house where it just seemed to be a lot of weird things happening. And it wasn't so much me seeing it, it was like the wife and the kids, and they were getting really freaked out. And the wife was saying to me, "You got to stop doing this podcast." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to stop." But weird things started happening. And as I say, there was a real build up of activity all of a sudden that didn't seem nice. I wasn't getting a nice vibe from it. I was praying out loud saying, in Jesus' name, whatever's here, you need to leave now. And eventually that for me, that works. And that did stop whatever it was happening. But there was a build up. So, and one of the things that happened was, so I've got 2 daughters and a son. And one night, my wife and my 2 daughters were like, "We're going to have a girls' night and we're going to sleep downstairs and we're going to watch girly films." And I was like, "Yeah, cool." So me and Fred, my boy, we went upstairs to our room, and he was asleep on the bed. And I was like laying next to him, but I wasn't asleep. I was trying to sleep. And we had a hall light on. So it wasn't darkness. Because it sounds very sad, but if the wife's not in the room with me, I'll have some sort of light on. I don't like sleeping in the dark. And I think that goes back to being a kid and seeing stuff, and more stuff that I'll share with you later as well. So I just don't like being in the dark. So I'll either have a light on or I'll have a podcast on. I can't be in just darkness with no sound.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm the exact same way, brother. I got my phone right next to my head, watching like a YouTube video or a
yes.
podcast going, man, I can't do the dark.
The problem is when you've had experiences, something can just pop up at any moment. That, and that's what I can't handle. So I, I'll have a light on. There'll be a light on. So my boys sleep next to me, and he wakes up, and I'm like, "You all right, Fred? What's the matter, mate?" And he looks towards the door, and he points, and he goes, Amy's just walked past," and Amy's my eldest daughter, right? So I was like, "Amy's just, I didn't see her." So I was like, "You wait there, I'll go and have a look, see if Amy's upstairs." So I've come out the room, gone into Amy's room, looked all upstairs. Amy's not upstairs. My eldest is downstairs still with my wife. I've gone back into her. I said, "Fred, what did you see, mate? Like, what was it?" And he said, "I saw Amy walk past the door and she was all brown." He was like, "She was all brown." And I was like, "What? What does that mean?" Like, she's all brown. Okay. And it freaked me out. I was like, "Okay, I'm going downstairs with the girls." So I was like, "Fred, come on, we're going downstairs with the girls." That was enough for me to be like, he has seen something, Again, he could be dreaming at the time. This is what I'm thinking. I'm trying to be rational. He could have been dreaming. He could have been dreaming. But where it gets really weird is, so obviously I tell my wife about this, but we don't tell my daughters about this. So they didn't know about this. That exact same week, I came home from work. And as I said, I finished work at 1 a.m. UK time. So it's late. The kids are normally in bed. The wife's in bed. Everyone's chilled. No one's up. And I've come into the house, and my middle daughter is standing at the top of the stairs with the light on, very out of character. And I was like, "Ruby, what's the matter? What's going on?" She went, "I'm scared. Mummy said I can sleep in your room. I saw Amy walk past the door." And yeah, so she saw the same thing that my son saw in the same week, in the same spot. And I was like, oh my gosh, And for me, that was like, coincidence? No, I don't believe in coincidences. That was very strange, and that was just another horrible. That wasn't a nice feeling, that something's possibly mimicking my eldest or something that looks like my eldest. I don't know, but yeah, very strange, man. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's good. It's good. Like it's very, and it's just intense. Like, cause like I can see that just the in my head like I don't even know what your boy or your kids look like or anything like that, but like I can just see the whole scenario play out in my head, and I'm like, dude,
Mhm.
I, I would have
Yeah,
my Bible cracked open on
yeah.
instantly
Well,
and everybody in the same room.
that was the moment where I was like praying out loud. I was like, whatever's here, in Jesus' name, you leave now. Like, you're not welcome. Because it wasn't a nice feeling. As I say, this really brought the vibe of the house down. Like, everyone wasn't happy with this. Another thing happened. So me and my wife we were watching telly one night, and we were watching like this Love Island type show. Yeah.
She's watching it right now. I feel you, brother.
The thing is, they'll say, "Let's watch a show," and I'm like, "No, no," and then we start watching it, and then I get into it, and then
Yeah,
I've got to finish it, and I'm like, "Oh, okay," but
exactly. I'm gonna say I don't want to watch this 10 hours
no,
later.
yeah,
Can't wait till the next season.
I'm on season 7, like loving it. Like.
Mhm.
So we're watching one of these type dating shows, wherever it was. It was on Netflix, and it was actually quite good. I was getting into it. We're sitting there watching it, and this was last August as well. I'm pretty sure. I do lose track of when things happen because it just
Yeah.
the time goes so far. I should note down when things happen, but we were watching this program, and this sounds mad, but me and my wife both heard, oh, like really loud, like it filled up the room, this noise, and it was like a comic, like a cartoony ghost. That's how it sounded. And we both looked at each other and was like, what the heck was that? Stop the program. I'm like, it can't have been in here. Like, what was that? It was so loud, and it like filled the room. So I'm looking in the hallway, I'm going upstairs, everyone's asleep. It wasn't the dog, he didn't make that noise. Um, Come back downstairs, I was like, okay, we'll rewind the show and see if that noise was on the show. Went back 2 minutes, listened to it, nothing. It wasn't that. And that was when my wife turned to me and she went, "You got to stop doing this podcast." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm sorry." But it was stuff like that, man. There was a build up of activity in this house, and yeah, it wasn't a nice feeling. My wife heard me call her. My wife, whilst I was at work one night, I call my wife Treek, and it's like a nickname that I give her. No one else calls her that, and she heard me say Treek from another room while I was at work. So stuff like that was happening, man. Very weird.
It is weird, man. And like my wife and I are going through like something similar right now with and apparently it's a normal thing. I'm much like you. I go straight to the paranormal and stuff just because I'm so involved in it. But we'll hear our daughter crying and stuff, and we're like, "Oh, is she crying?" And we'll go in the room, and she's sound asleep. She's snoring, but she ain't crying and stuff like that. And I'm like, people talk about, oh yeah, when you're new parents, like you hear your children cry and stuff like that. But you know, I don't know, man. Yesterday, all the fire alarms went off all at once. So I, I don't know. It's just
Unfortunately, brother, when you talk about this stuff, you do invite it. You invite it in as well, which is, yeah, man. Oh,
I
there.
try to stay prayed up. I stay
Oh,
prayed
I
up.
do. I do. And for me, that generally works, and that does. I do get a sense of I'm okay. I really do. Like people say to me, how do you have these conversations all the time? And how are you like immersed in this subject so much? But I do feel that prayer and faith does keep you safe. I really do believe that. I do feel protected, you know. There are times where that's pushed. You do feel sort of attacked spiritually, and I think that's part of the process. But yeah, it's scary, man. There was another thing as well. I mean, there's been so many weird stuff, man. But so I just finished either recording an episode or like working on the podcast. It was about 3 a.m. And this was very out of character for my dog as well. So we've got like he sleeps in like this cage at night, which is like it's a big cage for him. He goes in and he'll stay in there all night. And unless he hopefully if someone gets in the house that's not welcome, he will wake up hopefully and let us know. But I was just finished and I heard him going mad in his cage outside, and I was like, "What's he going mad? That's weird." So I've come out of my room and I'm on the landing outside, and I could hear someone walking downstairs and like making like loud noises, and the lights are on as well, making loud noises. I'm not sure if I'd left the light on or not. That's another weird thing that happens sometimes, but all the lights were on, and it was as if someone was walking around, moving stuff around. It was so loud. And I was like, oh my gosh, someone's in my house. And I've checked the missus, kids, everyone's in their room, so it's none of them. Dog's going mad in the cage, and I can hear something making, and I think I'm being robbed. I think there's people down there robbed. So I've said to the dog, right, we've got to go, boy. You know, this is go time. We got to go. And I'm hyping myself up for a fight. I'm thinking there's guys in my house. So I've picked up a weapon. Unfortunately, we're not allowed guns. so I've got like I can't even remember what I got, but I got something heavy, and got my dog out, and we both charged down the stairs, fully expecting to see someone there, and there was no one there, man. No doors were open, no windows were open, nothing was moved, nothing was gone, but it was so loud. And that was around that period where there was a build up of strangeness. And that really freaked me out as well. Really scared me because it wasn't, in my mind, it wasn't paranormal. It was, I'm being robbed. And there's people downstairs. Yeah, that was another thing. Yeah. Yes. What a legend, man. Love that dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he had something similar happen when he was a kid, and I was like, dude, no, like when it sounds like something's banging everywhere. Mm-mm.
Yeah, no, man. This is all his artwork up there, by the way. That's all Drewski's artwork. Yeah.
He,
Awesome dude, man.
I love him, man. Yep. Next, if you ever come out to the States, man, we'll all have to get together and go on a home.
100%. 100%. When I come though, I'm not leaving though. That's the thing. I'm
Hey,
staying.
you will be happy.
Thank you, man.
We'll welcome you arms wide open. I know there's a lot
Thank
of
you.
people in the community that'll do anything to make it happen.
No, thank you very much, man.
No problem. Man, so it sounds like you've lived in some pretty active places.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's been some more weird stuff as well, brother. There has. But so going back to my haunted house when I was a kid. So we left that house when I was 12, and something that stands out for me, the first night in my new house, I remember being in my new bedroom, and I had my own room at the time, and I remember not being really scared. And we had no curtains up in the room, so there was a lot of light coming in, but I wasn't like scared. And I was thinking, this is weird, man. I'm in a new house. I should be scared, and I wasn't scared. So that kind of stands out for me. But weird stuff did eventually happen in that house. And kind of my next, well, I've got a UFO experience which we can go to, but that's kind of a separate thing. But in that house, I was 21 when this happened, so it's quite a jump. And I was at university at the time, and I used to come home. I used to go to uni in London, so I wasn't far from my home. So I used to come home every Friday and stay home for the weekend, and then go back on the Sunday. So it was a Friday night. I was home from uni, and me and my brother eventually we started sharing a room again up in our loft. Like we had a loft conversion, so we had like our own little space up on the third floor, and it was quite a big space that we had. So it was a big room, and I was laying there. I was asleep, and I woke up through the night, and all the lights were off, and there was the shape of a man standing over my bed. Your very typical darker than a dark. You know, you could see the shape of a man. It was a dark room, but he stood out. And I was so scared, and I thought it was my brother. I thought he was like playing a trick on me or something. And I've just took a swing at this thing and gone through it. Obviously, made a bit of a noise because on the other side of the room, my brother turned his side light on and was like, "Bro, what's going on? What's the matter? What's the matter? Calm down." And I was like, "I thought you were standing over me, man." And he was like, "No, calm, calm." And I was like, oh, "Okay, I must have been dreaming. I must have," and maybe it was. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but there was something there. And I didn't at the time. I wasn't. I was obviously I've always been into paranormal stuff, but I wasn't thinking shadow figure or anything like that. It wasn't until sort of later on listening to podcasts and so many people see shadow figures. I was like, that is what I saw when I was 21 that night. There was something there, shape of a man. Um, and that has actually happened a couple of times in the house that I'm in now. When I started doing the podcast, I'd woken up during the night and there's something standing there at the side of the bed. I've had that a couple of times in this house. And I had another time in this house where I woke up and I thought my wife was sitting up crying. Like I could see the shape of what I thought was my wife with her head in her hands crying. And I remember being like, "Babe, what's the matter?" And I've sort of gone through whatever this thing was, looked down, and my wife's just sound asleep. It wasn't her. That happened in this house as well. So waking up to shadow figures is another reason why I don't like sleeping in the dark.
Yeah. Oh, I I can't imagine, man. Like that's one of the few things I have not like definitively seen, and when I hear people like you talk about it, man, I can't even like begin to comprehend. And you swung on one, and then you tried to comfort another one, man. Like, did you feel anything while like passing through it, or was it just like shock in the air?
Yeah, it was just like sucking the air, man. It wasn't like didn't feel anything. I just sort of gone through it, and I just remember the light coming on in the corner where my brother was, and he wasn't like he couldn't have run back to the bed or anything like that. It wasn't him, you
Yeah,
know. It definitely wasn't him, and he would have eventually said it wasn't him. But so yeah, just gone through whatever this thing was, and then again, when I woke up and thought it was my wife, I've just gone through like it looked like a solid mass of something. It looked like my wife. You know, you wake up during the night and imagine your wife sitting up crying. You'd be able to see like the outline and the, you know the dark. But that I've just gone through this thing and didn't feel cold or anything like that. Looked down and my wife's just sound asleep, and it wasn't her. Very strange, man. That was very strange. Because you know you wake up during the night and say like you've probably not had this yet, but one of your kids standing there, which sometimes happens. Like your kid will wake up and they'll be standing at your bed. That's terrifying.
I I get that with my baby. She just learned how to stand a couple of weeks ago, but we got one of those like three-sided cribs where it doesn't have a thing and it's like, flush with the bed. So what she likes to do is she'll crawl over mom and then stand right in between us. Like this morning, it was this morning or yes, I can't remember. My days blend together, but she's sitting there standing there, and I'm like, oh, what the? And I'm like, oh, hey, baby girl, come here.
It's scary, man. It's
Dude,
scary. Yeah.
I've had some scary stuff happen, but that time that's on the top of the like, oh no, it's the gray. Oh no, it's just my bald baby.
So that's why I just don't like being in the dark, because I've had too many experiences of waking up, or seeing something there, and yeah. So that's why, man. That's why I'm scared of the dark.
Hey, no judgment whatsoever, man. I keep on looking. I for
Well,
some
you're
reason
in the dark right now.
I decided I was like, man, I was like, I'll turn the second monitor on, have a little bit. Like, I don't know why I wanted to do one in the dark tonight. Usually I just leave the lights on, but I was like, no, I feel like I was like, we gonna get freaky, we gonna get creepy. I was like, let's get the ambiance going on now. Now you got me checking over my shoulder over here, thinking, oh man, this is gonna be like somebody standing in the stairwell.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Oh, it's good because like I'm down in the basement. It's pitch dark, and it's just brick. I got a couch and a rug and my studio set up, and then it's just stairs, and I'm just waiting for something to be standing on the stairs, man, just peeking out down at me.
You hear that so often, man, in the basement. That's so often you hear people see stuff in their basements, man.
I told myself I was never gonna have a basement. Well, the house I'm renting right now had one, and it's a finished. I mean, it's nice. It's got a bunch of lighting. It's a finished floor. It's a finished basement, but like I'm just like slowly getting better at it. But like my grandparents had a basement, and I was just like always terrified to go down there. Super uneasy feelings all the time, and I'm just like, no, I can't do basements. My one buddy's basement. We've been friends for almost 20 years now. I'd never sat foot down in his basement one time in our 20 years of being friends because he told me he would look down there and there'd be somebody standing at the bottom of the stairs. So that always fueled into my fear of basements. I was like, oh, nope, not going to do this.
Yeah, there's something about basements, man. There really is. I said,
If I build a house, it ain't having no basement. It's nice because I have it now, but I'd rather just have a side room.
yeah, yeah, man. I also used to get. I don't know if you've ever experienced paralysis, like sleep paralysis.
Yeah, yeah. I've had quite a few experiences with that, and they weren't fun.
No, not a nice experience. And I used to get it where I lived before I live now. I used to get it probably once a week. I used to get it very regularly, and I didn't. Again, I didn't think of it at the time as like paranormal, even though I should have done, really, because it was very weird. It was only from like starting the podcast and talking to people about it and stuff that I was like, yeah, I think that was an attack, like a spiritual attack. And basically it wouldn't last very long, but about once a week or sometimes twice, whatever. It was very regular. I would see people call it sleep paralysis, and I guess that's waking up in the paralysis. For me, it never felt like that. It was like as I was trying to go asleep, So I don't think I was ever actually asleep. It was like I would lay down, I would try to go asleep, and I would get this like vibration go through me, like, vroom. Oh, you did as well.
Dude, you know, you are the second person in my entire life. I've talked to so many people that have sleep paralysis and stuff. Second person in my entire life to say the vibration thing. No, everybody looks at me like I'm crazy. Like what? No, it's the weirdest feeling on the entire
Yes,
planet.
yes,
Does your heart it feel like your heart's like racing at like 200 plus?
bro. It's such a strange feeling. But what I get from what I mean, I occasionally get it. I think I've had it like 3 or 4 times in this house, but it's like it's a really nice feeling for me. Like I get this, and it's like a nice feeling. It's really weird, but what comes after that is not nice. So I get this vibration go through me, and it feels nice, and it's like a relaxing feeling. But then all of a sudden, I can't move. But it is like like literally a vibration that goes through you. And I've talked to some people that say that it's possibly like the beginning of astral projection, astral projecting, like leaving your body, and
Yeah,
that makes sense. That really does, because it kind of feels like that. It kind of feels like there's an energy going through you, or whatever the energy is. It feels like it's so hard to explain, like a wave. And yeah, it's like a wave of, I don't know, but it's like it makes you vibrate. It's really weird.
It
But
is. It's sorry. Go ahead. I was shocked that you said you liked it because
yeah,
I I I don't. I feel like I'm gonna die.
yeah, I grew to not like it because I knew what would come in after, or very soon into that feeling, because then I couldn't move. Then I was in the paralysis, and then like, I couldn't look around the room. But it sounds crazy, but in my mind's eye, I can see this black mass of energy or whatever it is that's trying to attack me, and I can. It's more of like I can feel it, but I can see it in my mind's eye, and it's like in my head I'm saying this is like a witch, even though it doesn't look like a witch. It's just like a black energy of just something, and it's like it's attacking me. And I used to swear at this thing, like in my head, I'd be like, get it, out, and I won't say the words that I used to say, but I used to swear at this thing, and I would break out of the paralysis, and then I was like, oh, that was weird. And in my mind, I was like, this is whatever. This is a witch. It's like a witch attacking me, and that's how it felt. And I never used to really look into it or, talk to anyone about it. I don't even think I used to tell my wife about it. It was just something I used to deal with, and it was just like I used to put it down to being stressed or really tired, and that's what I put it down to. I thought, oh, everyone must have this when they're really tired. They get this feeling of being attacked, whatever it is, because that's how it feels. It's like you're being attacked.
Yes.
And it wasn't until obviously looking more into it and then talking to people, and the hag comes up so much, the hag in paralysis. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is exactly and it was more of a knowing, it was more of in my mind, I was like, this thing is a witch, and so as soon as I heard about the hag, I was like, that is what I was experiencing. And and I had dealt with that for so long, and it was like an attack. Um, and as I say, I've had it probably 4 times that I can remember in this house. So in 3.5 years, it doesn't happen very often now. But when it happens in this house, when it has happened, it's been a different, uh, I'll say, entity. I don't know if this is something in your mind or if it is you are being attacked by something. I tend to think you are spiritually being attacked by something, I
Yeah.
believe.
I would
But it,
agree 110%.
yeah, but it wasn't that hag. It was something else. I think one time in my mind's eye, it was like a grey wolf thing, weird, very strange. And then another time it happened to me, I was literally sitting on my couch downstairs, and I was doing like an interview around 2 a.m. in the morning UK time, and I was sitting there, and I guess this kind of I guess I was falling asleep, but I got the vibration going through me again, and then there was like a, a again, this is in my mind's eye, so it could be a part of my mind, but like a doctor came in a white coat and came towards me, and I was like, oh, broke out of the paralysis. But I started to beat whatever this thing was. I used to use the name Jesus and say, in Jesus' name, get out, whatever, and that used to stop it. And as I say, it doesn't really happen very often now. So I don't know. I don't know, man. Very, very strange.
It is very strange, man, because it's very similar stuff like happens to me with, so like, I'll get it. I think the last time it happened was a couple months ago. It hasn't been happening as much since I moved into this place. The place I lived before, it seemed like it happened like every other day or at least like 2, 3 times a week. But like, it starts at like the toes, kind of works its way up. It feels like my whole body is like shaking, like what I would imagine like a seizure or something feels like for me. Like it starts off slow and stuff, but then it gets intense, and it feels like my heart rate is going through the roof. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm just dreaming or something like that with it. It wasn't until almost being married over a year that my wife was up when it started happening, and she started. Riley, get up, get up. And I'm like, what? And she's like, you were just like, your whole body was like vibrating. And I was like, yeah, I know. So I was like actually physically doing it too. And she's like, yeah. And this was like right after have you talked to Vicky Joy before?
Yes, Vicky Joy Anderson. Yeah, she's
I,
awesome.
I just got done doing an interview with her. So,
Yes,
we were
she's a
talking.
good person to talk to about this sort of stuff.
She's the other person that felt the vibrations. She's the only other person besides you now and myself that I know that has the
Oh
vibration.
wow! Because I remember, because I interviewed Vicky Joy Anderson ages ago. I can't remember her saying that, but I have had other people tell me that. But yeah, I need to go back and listen to that, man. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
but I'm what? And she's like, your whole body was like vibrate. You weren't like convulsing or anything like that, but it was like your body was, and I'm just like, that's that. I feel that all the time, and I was like, I think something's trying to, attack me. And like you were saying, like, and you'll hear about it when we talk here in the next couple weeks.
Yes.
The hag is very familiar. I'm very familiar with the hag as well.
Oh wow, man. Is that what you used to feel was attacking you as well?
It wasn't until like the climax. There's a whole bunch, but there's a climax that happens, and that's when it finally showed itself to me.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, I also lived in a property that was very active, and it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I hadn't even started the podcast yet, but I had started
Interesting.
stepping into ministry and like actually believing in Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's when all this stuff kind of started happening.
Interesting, man. Interesting, because it really does feel like a spiritual attack. I really believe that's what it is. And it's interesting, it's before you started the podcast as well, because it was for me as was before I started the podcast. And it was like, maybe, do you think possibly it is the other side or whatever trying to stop you from looking into this sort of stuff? Or maybe, I don't know, worst case, trying to take you over. I don't know. I don't know what the agenda is, but to definitely attack you spiritually, I think is what it's doing. And I think we're constantly tested. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And make them know. So I truly believe that God puts us in these situations so we know firsthand, and we're just not talking the talk, but we're walking the walk, fighting the,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's like it's a spiritual test, and yeah, it's not a nice test, that's for sure.
Looking back on it, it's in hindsight, I'm grateful for them, even though
I know what you mean.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like all my experiences, man. Like a lot of them have been terrifying, but at the same time, it's probably put me on the path that I'm on, and I'm quite happy where I am. I'm quite happy the path that I'm on at the moment. So I think it is meant to be. I do think we are pushed spiritually. I think we'll constantly keep getting these attacks. Unfortunately, I do think it's just a part. Good and evil is amongst us, and I think we're always going to, unfortunately, be battling that. And I think that's a part of the journey, man.
Oh, 110%, man. But you mentioned you saw a UFO, man. I need to hear about this because I am in UFO Central, where I'm located.
Yes, yeah.
So,
Well, it's another subject that fascinates me, man. And I'm always looking up and I'm always trying to see something in the sky. And I do believe that if you're always looking for it, you will see stuff that you can't explain. Like, how many people do you talk to that will say they've seen a strange light in the sky that wasn't a satellite? They're not sure what it was. You hear that so often. Even people that are not really interested in this sort of stuff will tell you that. But my first sort of I'll say big UFO experience. Sounds wild, man, but I was 14 when this happened, and this was this was in Essex, in Brentwood, in Shenfield, where I used to live, and it was a beautiful summer's day, a really nice day, a clear blue sky, and me and my brother and a couple of other guys were playing football in the street, or soccer in the street, and we, which we did all through the summer, all the time. Was always out playing football, soccer with different guys, and you know, and it was just a normal day. And I can't remember who saw it, but someone sort of pointed up and said, "What is that?" And we've all stopped playing the game and looked, and there was this thing in the sky that I've never seen anything else like it since, or it's very strange. The best way for me to describe it is if you took um, a building from Dubai, like like these futuristic buildings that you see in Dubai, like really cool. Pick one of them up, put it up in the sky in the distance, and just let it float. That is what we saw, and it wasn't moving. It was just there. It was just in the sky, just there. And we're like trying to work out: is it a plane? Is it a blimp? Is it a kite? We're going through all the scenario what it could be. We're not sure what it was. It was just there. It was just wasn't moving, and it was orange and silver, and it was like we couldn't see it super clear, so I can't tell you if it had windows on it and stuff, but it felt like it could. It just looked like a building. It looked like a building in the sky. It really did. And we were watching this for like 5-10 minutes, whatever it was. And then for whatever reason, we just started playing soccer again. We didn't like, now I would camp out for weeks watching that thing. You'd film it. You'd want to, obviously I was 14 at the time, so we didn't have camera phones. All I had was a Nokia brick. Don't know if you remember the Nokia bricks. You probably don't. With the
When I was like
yeah,
6 or 7,
yeah,
so
you won't remember them. They were like the big brick phones with the aerials. That's what I had at the time. So you wasn't taking pictures of this thing. So we just started playing soccer again, and it bugs me because I'm like, why did we not, you know, try and work out what it was? So we didn't see it disappear, didn't see it shoot off, just played soccer again. Now the weird thing is me and my brother never really spoke about this, even though it was such a cool thing to see. And thinking about it now, it's like, it's amazing to see something like that. We never really spoke about it at all. And when I started Let's Get Freaky podcast, the first couple of shows, I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about some of my experiences. Let's write down what I've experienced, and this memory didn't even come back to me. Like, it just wasn't there. And I was on Paranormal Heart podcast with Cat Ward. Shout out Cat Ward, the first ever person to let me on their show. And I was like, wow, I'm going to be talking about my experiences. And the UFO. I've got other UFO experiences that I'll tell you about in a second. But so, so I'm talking about them, and this memory just came back of seeing this thing, and I was like, well, this memory, I'm just going to tell her because it's here, but I'm gonna. It's weird that I'm just remembering this now, but I'm gonna. It just started telling her about it. So I told her about what I saw, and then my brother. So that she put the episode out, and then my brother called me up because he listened to the episode like the day it came out, whatever it was, and he went, "Bruv, what was that thing we saw that day? I remember seeing it. What was it?" And I was like, "I'm so glad you remember that. That I wasn't just having a mad moment." And I'm just spouting out nonsense. It's just some weird memory that I had. He remembers it as well, and remembers it exactly as I remember it. Couldn't work out what it was, but we describe it the same way. So that memory's there for him as well. And that sort of, confirms it for me that I'm not going crazy, that we had that experience. No idea what it was, but definitely I put it in the UFO category.
that's interesting. So man, so it looked like a building. So
Yeah, way up there though. Like, imagine if you picked up, just say like the Statue of Liberty, you pick that up and you put it up in the sky, like really high up, so you can see it, but it's like it's small, so you can't really make out the details of the face, I guess, and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
that's what this was like. This was like you picked up a building, futuristic looking building, silver and orange, like long, and just put it in the sky and just let it float. That's what it was like, man. And I've seen things close to it, but I've not, how I remember it, I've not seen a picture or anything like it. It's very weird.
that is a very unique. That's definitely a very unique shape and type. Like, you hear like the cigar kind of shape ones, the stereotypical disc or like the triangles and stuff like that. But like the image that I kind of have in my head right now is like, yeah, like one, like a long kind of built, like almost like pointish building.
Hmm.
I'm thinking like I'm getting like mothership vibes or something from it.
Again, it's a word I never use, but that is what someone else said to me, and other people have said that sounds like a mothership, and it does. It does sound like that, man. It really does. It was a big possible ship because there's nothing else really that I know it could have. I don't know what it could have been other than that.
Yeah.
Very strange. And obviously, as I say, I've always been interested in this sort of stuff, but I wasn't, my knowledge on UFOs and stuff wasn't great then, and it's probably still not that great now. But but I still don't know what they are. Obviously, I don't think anyone really knows. But yeah, what it was, I don't know. That was like the first time I'd seen something like that. But it's weird how the memory sort of wasn't really strong, but for whatever reason. I don't know why that is, why we never talked about it, because it was such a cool thing to see. Um, but I was just happy my brother remembered it as well.
that's that's all. That's always good when somebody else remembers it.
Yes, yeah,
Unfortunately, with one of mine, the that I saw with my grandpa, he's like, "Nope, I don't remember it," and I was like, "Of course you don't." I was like 10 years ago, but come on, man. So now I'm just sitting here, but when you
uh,
got that other person, it makes you
yeah.
feel better.
It confirms it to you, yeah. Because I said another UFO experience. I put this in the UFO category as well. And again, I was with my mother-in-law when this happened. So two of us both saw this. Definitely both saw this. And this is when I was 27 when this happened. So this is about 10 years ago, just over 10 years ago. And we lived in a flat in Brentwood. We had a flat in Brentwood, in Essex, and we was on the top floor of 4 floors. So we was on the top floor, so it was quite high up, and there was like a little forested area opposite our flats. Um, and me and my mother-in-law, again, it was a lovely, beautiful summer's day. Me and my mother-in-law were just talking and looking out the window, and we're looking, and we're like, "What? What's that?" They're like 3 objects came out of the forest, and they were like, they weren't really that big. They were like the size of a basketball, 3 of them, and they were like silvery, metallic-y looking things, and they were constantly changing shape. So there was 3 of them that were sort of like moving around in a circle around each other. They weren't connected, so they weren't actually touching, but it seemed like they were like connected somehow because they were like moving around each other, and they were constantly changing shape, and they were constantly different shapes as well. So they weren't like the same shape as the other one. They were like just moving sporadically, or whatever. They were like different shapes, and they were like just floating around each other and going up and up and up. And me and my mother-in-law are watching this, and we're like, "Are they balloons?" Like again, going through what are they? What could they be? And no idea what they were, but we're watching them, watching them, watching them, and they get so high up, but we can still see them in the sky. And then you just saw flash, 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 and all 3 of them just shot off. And never seen anything like that, never seen anything move like that, never seen anything like what these things were, no idea. But I was so happy my mother-in-law saw that as well, and we were like, wow, like what have we just seen there? And whenever we're at like family parties now, we talk about this all the time. And other family members are like watching us and they're going, really? Like, are you sure they weren't balloons? And we're like, for a start, balloons don't fly off the way these things shot off. They shot off and you saw like a light beam go with it. These things were moving like nothing I've ever seen. Like, very strange. I've seen things close to it on the internet and stuff, but with my own eyes to see something shoot off like that, unbelievable. And me and my mother-in-law saw that together. We're both not crazy, hopefully. The thing that annoys me is I actually had my iPhone in my pocket at that time, so I could have took it out and got maybe a video, but didn't even think of that, man, at the
You
time.
don't you don't think about it in the moment, man. You don't, especially when they're moving like that.
Hmm.
Spoiler alert, I've had something very similar happen to me too.
Interesting.
Dude, I'm starting to think like, oh, me and you got a lot of parallels.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man, you in the moment, I'm not like, oh, let me pull out my phone and record this. You're in awe.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Didn't even think about it. This was during the day, so it was a beautiful. I'm guessing like afternoon, early afternoon, blue sky. We could see it very clearly. We could follow these things up and up right to the sky, and then they just went flash, flash, flash. Shot off. And I put that in the UFO category. I don't really know what this was. Some people say to me that's possibly something to do with the Fae. Fairy type beings, or possibly, I don't know. Again, I don't know what they are. It's just what I saw and what I experienced. I put it in the UFO category, but
At
yeah,
the end of the day, it is a UFO in the technical sense. At the end of the
it's unidentified. Yeah, that's for
day,
sure. Yeah.
that's all. Bro.
But another weird one, man. There's been so many weird stuff, brother.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You know, uh, I'm not gonna lie. Like I was kind of expecting, like with us just being so far apart, I was like, oh, I'm gonna hear like a totally different thing. But so many similarities, like to the T almost. And that's to me, that's even more fascinating. The fact that the exact same thing is happening on the other side of the planet.
100%, man. All these things seem to be connected. Like everything, whether cryptids, UFOs, ghosts, whatever, they all seem to be connected. We all seem to be experiencing the same things all around the world. We just sometimes give them different names. I think that's the only difference sometimes, is the names that we give these things.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
I agree 110% with that. Man,
I'm sorry, bro. There's more. There's more stuff as well, man. I've had more weird stuff. I know.
if you want to keep on going, go ahead. If you want to call it here, I know
I
it's late.
don't. It's up to you, my brother. I'm happy to carry on.
Hey, let's keep it rocking and rolling then.
I guess I can tell you about. I'm very much into cryptids. I would love to see. I always say I'd love to see a Bigfoot. I know, be careful what you wish for, because you never know with these things. But I'm very much into cryptids, and what I'm about to tell you I can't say it's definitely cryptid, but it's weird. It's definitely strange. But so when I first moved to this house, we didn't know anyone else around here. We didn't know anything really about the place. All we knew is we wanted to be in Dorset, in Bournemouth, where we are. We're in Poole, which is right next to Dorset, but Bournemouth. But that's all we knew really. We used to come on holiday here all the time, and then we just decided we're going to move here. Once they locked us all up, we were like, once they let us out, we'll work it out and we'll move to where we want to live. So we moved here, and didn't know the area, just liked the house, liked the fact that we had a big sort of forest heathland behind us. And I love it, man. That's a big part of why we moved here, because I love going into the forest every day. And, I love being in nature, and I still do. Every day I go into the forest. I love it, man. I need that walk, half an hour, whatever it is. And it's right there. So it's really cool. So when I first moved here, I left my job back in London, so I was starting afresh. I wanted to do a podcast, but I'd not even started the podcast yet. But I was thinking about it, thinking about what my next move is going to be. And it was around. I've always been like a bit of a night owl, so I stay up all for the night. Even before I started doing podcasting, I've always been one of those guys that goes to bed really late. And so I'd be sitting downstairs in the front room in my new house, and didn't get a bad vibe. It wasn't like a scary thing, but I would hear like a growling outside my window. And I know that sounds quite scary. So there was like a growl, like a big dog. And so there is people that have got, obviously, on this street that have got dogs. So I'm just assuming someone's letting their dog out. I used to find it weird because why would you let your dog out the front of your house when you got a yard? Why would you, during the night, why would you let your dog run out in the street? I used to think that's quite strange, but I used to hear this growling very often, like a dog moving around outside. And this is before I had a dog as well. I've got a dog now, but this was before I had the dog. And I used to hear this quite often, this growling literally outside my house. So one night I'm looking out and I kept trying to see whatever this dog was. And there was someone did have a big Rottweiler. I'm not sure if they do anymore, but they're quite a big dog. And I can imagine that's what it would sound like if it was outside my window growling. So I'm thinking it's possibly that. Never saw any dog, never saw anything that could be making this growling noise. So I was like, that's strange, man. Like, what is that? Anyway, not thinking anything paranormal at this time, even though I probably should have been. But I then started working. I'd found a job not long after that, and I've started working, and I literally work opposite where I live. I won't say the name of the place, but it's like a warehouse type thing. But it's just opposite where I live, 10 seconds from my house. And I'm obviously I'm meeting new people and stuff. I met this girl at work, and she was like, "Oh, the paranormal came up, talking about paranormal stuff, because that's one of my first questions to anyone is, what have you had any paranormal experiences?" And I think at this point I probably had started, maybe, I don't know if I'd started the podcast. I think I did just started the podcast, so I was like eager to talk to people about this stuff and guests and stuff like that. And this girl was like, "Oh, we've got a devil dog law in our forest." And I was like, "A devil dog law?" And she's like, "Yeah, people see this like canine creature with red eyes, and people hear it in the forest." And I'm thinking, oh, like, didn't know anything about this, but as much as I love cryptids and stuff, obviously didn't know anything about this. And she was like, "Yeah, it's in books. Yeah, I've got books about it at home. My dad's had experiences. I've had experiences relating to this thing." And I'm like, okay, that's weird, man. Now I'm starting to sort of think, I'm hearing this growling. She's telling me there's a devil dog law in a forest that's just behind my house. I'm like, okay, possibly. But weird thing is, I never heard the growling again after that, which is another weird thing. I don't know why. Maybe it was the Rottweiler, and maybe something happened to that Rottweiler. I don't know. But so before I had a dog, I still do go walking all the time in that forest. And I took my two daughters down the forest, and we were just walking through, and there's all different little routes you can go on. And it was like a Saturday evening, and it was getting kind of dark, but we're going through the forest, and Amy, my eldest daughter, so she would have been 10 when this happened, just started freaking out and saying she'd seen what she described as like a Bigfoot with yellow eyes. Right, this is what she was saying at 10. And I was like, "Amy, no, you've not seen a Bigfoot, babe." Like I said, trying to calm her down, because she was like, "I've seen a Bigfoot." Anyway, no, that sounds crazy. I've got her home. In my mind, I'm thinking she's seen one of the documentaries I was watching, because I'm always watching Bigfoot stuff, and she's freaking herself out because we're in the forest. So I've got to say as well, sorry, that this happened before I knew about the devil dog. So I didn't know about the devil dog at this point either. So my daughter's had this experience. I'm hearing the growling. Then I learned about the devil dog, and that's when I started putting things together. Maybe she did see something. I'm not saying she did. I still ask her today, and she still says she saw something with yellow eyes that looked like a Bigfoot in the distance. Kids do see stuff like that, so possibly it was imagination or pareidolia or whatever, but she does say that, and I'd be a hypocrite to say that she didn't see that with what I do. So that was another weird thing happened. And then we got our dog. I got my little dog Blue. He's a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. Crazy little dog, but I love him to pieces. And he's literally crazy. He's not scared of anyone, but he's very friendly. Like, he's not a nasty dog, but he's very boisterous. And we've got bulls that are just walk free in that forest, and he'll run over to them. If he wasn't on the lead, he's going to run over to them. He doesn't care. But there was one day we was walking through the forest, and me, my wife, and my 3 kids were with us as well. And we're walking through this little route, and my dog, who's not scared of anyone, completely out of character, suddenly froze, started backing up, right? And just my dog completely freaked out. And I was like, what's going on? What's he doing? And like the kids are like getting upset because he's like really, something's freaking him out. It's like he can see something in front of us. That's really what it was like. I don't know if he could see something or smell something, but something set him off. And he was just terrified. Like my little dog that's not scared of anything is suddenly terrified of something. So I picked him up. We've walked through the route that we was on and put him back down, and whatever was worrying him didn't worry him anymore. He was absolutely fine. So I said to the wife, I've got to go back and just see if there was anything there that freaked him out, or if there was anyone there. I checked it out. I couldn't see anyone. It was just a forested area of trees, and nothing was there. But he saw something, man. See, something freaked him out. And that happened again. My wife and her friend were walking in through the forest, and at another point, he got very scared and done the same thing. She had to sort of pull him through this area. The only 2 times he's ever done that in that forest. And we do different routes all the time. So, we're always going to different parts of it. Been back to the same parts, and he's not freaked out. So it's not something in that area. No idea what it was, but it was like he saw something or sensed something. So again, I'm saying maybe devil dog. This is what I'm putting things together. And then, so this is another weird one. Again, I'm not saying it is, we saw the devil dog, but I took my daughters over to the forest, and they just got new bikes. So they were like riding their bikes through the forest. And there's like this little road, this little path you can walk down, which is like a quarter of a mile, whatever it is. It's quite a long little route, but it's straight down, so you can see that from the start to the finish. You can see a clear path. So my daughters, they like to ride their bikes down this little path, and I stand and watch them go down and come back. Fine. And it was like a Saturday evening again, and it was light though. And my 2 daughters wanted to go down this little path. I was standing at the top waiting for them, and I didn't have the dog at this time. It was just me and the 2 kids, and they're riding their bikes down. And I saw at the end of the path, I saw what I thought was, at first I thought it was a fox, and then I thought it was a big dog. It was just like a grey big dog. Again, I'm not thinking anything weird. I'm just thinking there's a big dog, and I'm expecting to see an owner walk behind it. It was on all fours. It wasn't like bipedal or anything. And I'm expecting to see an owner come behind it with it. My 2 daughters have got halfway down this path, have seen whatever I've seen as well, freaked out, both turned around on their bikes. My eldest has come charging back to me. My middle daughter, Ruby's fallen because she was so scared and panicked. And so I've run to her, got to her, picked her up, dusted her off. We've looked. Whatever we all saw was gone. There was no owner, there was no other dogs, there was nothing. Didn't see anything else. And I said, Ruby, what happened, babe? What did you see? And she went, I saw a wolf, Daddy. Like that. That was her words. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm devil dog. It's just in my mind like this. And again, I can't say it's definitely that, but for me, the synchronicities and with what I do, looking into this stuff, it makes me think there's something to it.
Let me ask you this question too. Like, do you guys have a lot of wolves there, or is there
No wolves. No
no
wolves.
wolves? All
No,
right.
my mother. Well, there's not any registered. There's not meant to be. I mean, a lot of people see black panthers. My mother-in-law saw a black panther about 20 years ago in Essex. So people do see black panthers and stuff like that. There is stuff out there that are not meant to be out there for sure, but um, yeah, no, there's not meant to be any wolves. And I'm not saying this was a wolf, but it was something grey and I don't know.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, like, I I'm using this as almost like training for myself to not instantly go paranormal on it. Like, you gotta ask these
Uh-huh.
kind of questions. But yeah, man, if there's no reported wolves and stuff like that, that's you know,
Yeah.
that definitely adds to the high strangeness of it for sure.
Yeah, man. And I mean, it could have been a big grey dog. It really could have been. Um, but and obviously, I don't tell the kids about the devil dog law or anything, so they don't know about that. They don't. They're not thinking. That's not in the back of their mind that there could be something weird going on. But I don't know, man. I mean, I'm in that forest every day,
Yeah,
so it hasn't put me off going in there. But again, there's just too much weird stuff happening, and you put it all together, and yeah, something doesn't add up.
yeah, man, and I mean, I give you big props going. I mean, I know you like being out there and stuff like that, but not being able to have a like a piece on your side or anything like that.
That's the only thing. Yeah.
I used to be all about, oh yeah, I mean, I'll go hiking. I'm I used to live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and stuff like that, and that's big Sasquatch Dogman territory. I'd be
Hmm.
hiking and stuff like that. Never had anything on my side. Then stuff started happening, and I was like, I ain't never going out without a pistol again. So big props to you for being able to do that.
Actually, saying that something last week happened. And, me and my daughter was walking in the forest with my dog, and she freaked out, and she's a little bit older now, Amy, but she said she saw like a white thing floating through the forest. Now again, she could be just scaring herself because she does hear snippets of what I do and stuff, and she's getting a little bit older where she can start learning about this stuff. So that happened last week. I'm not saying again, not saying she definitely did, but it was enough for her to make us go home. Unless she just wanted to get home, she had enough of the walk, maybe. But she freaked out again last week. So yeah,
You know, you can't. It it is what it is.
it's what it is, man. There's definitely more going on around us that we can't always see.
That's true, man. Actually, I've been thinking about the woods out on your neck of the well, no pun intended, no your neck of the woods, but because I just my brother came down a couple weeks ago and he likes horror movies and stuff like that. I ain't into all that kind of stuff. Like I don't do scary movies and stuff like that, which is funny because I can sit here and listen to people tell me like their encounters that are 100 times scarier than a horror movie. And I used to do ghost hunting and stuff, and didn't get scared during that. But we just watched that movie, The Watchers.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just like, man, I don't know if I could ever go into the woods out there just because they did such a good job depicting the Fey folk. I was like, my brother's like, Riley, you think that stuff's real out there? I said, I think this is a nice, happy little, and I mean, that movie's pretty messed up, but a nice, happy little version of what's actually out there. I was like, you ain't ever gonna catch me wandering out there by myself.
No, man, no. There's a lot out there that I mean, especially in the US as well. You got so much. You could go missing and never be found again if you really wanted to. I read what was it? I read something the other day or not long ago that someone decided they'd had enough of the society and they went to the woods on their own. lived in the forest for like 20 years out in the middle of nowhere in the US, and they only saw one other person in like 20 years. Don't know where I read that, if it's definitely legit, but I was like, wow, like, man, if you could do that and just go off the grid for 20 years and only see one other person, that is insane. It just shows you, what else could be out there.
It's possible, especially the more north you like Alaska. If you go Alaska, easy as pie to do that. But I mean, even if you're going to like Montana or Colorado out in the mountains and stuff like that, it's very easy to, you could do that, go 20 years and see one person.
Hmm. That's wild. That is
Here,
wild, man.
here in the Midwest, you can look down a cornfield. When it's down, you can see somebody 20 miles away, but you ain't doing it here, but there's definitely places you can do it.
Yeah. Wild, brother. It's fascinating, though, man.
It is. Now, do you like travel around and check out different locations and stuff like that at all? Or-
It's something I want to start doing more. Like, I've been to a lot of haunted places, but as far as like investigating places, I've not really done myself. But I would like to do that. I'm really looking into the history now of where I'm living, and I'm finding out weird stuff, man. There's like cults, all sorts of weird stuff that's around where I live. It's wild, man. But I think every town, every place all over the world have all got these legends and these histories that are just will blow your mind, and I think it's everywhere. So I'm really at the moment looking into like trying to find out more about the history and um, looking into like the legends and the lore of places. So that is something I'd like to do going forward.
It it's the best, man. I'm not gonna lie. That's part of the reason I started this podcast is just so I can get like cheat a little bit and all right, I'm gonna talk to somebody from that area
Yeah,
and get it, instead of
yeah,
it's I like to talk to people. Actually, I should rephrase it. I like to listen to people. And I could sit there on the Google or anything like that, or crack open a book and try to read something. But if I can talk to somebody that's actually in the vicinity, it's a lot more fun, and you get the little tiny extra details that end up being super massive and stuff like that.
yes, yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's those little details that really give you a clear picture. And yeah, man, you're right, man. It is fascinating. I'm excited to hear your experiences, brother. I'm looking forward to it, man. Yeah.
Well, I know it's getting pretty late out where you're at right now, so I mean, I would. You're welcome back on the show anytime.
Oh, thank you very much, brother. I'd love to come back. There's more weird stuff I can share. There's as I say, when you look into this stuff, I think you invite it in, and unfortunately you're going to experience
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, brother, I mean, let's plan on doing that because I know we probably just scraped the top of the barrel
Yeah,
today.
there's some more. There's some more there, man. That's for sure.
Well, why don't you tell everybody one more time where they can find you?
Well, thank you very much, bro. It's been a pleasure being on here today, man. Thank you very much. You can find me wherever you get your podcast. Tommy Cullum's Let's Get Freaky, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on all the main podcast platforms, and we're also on YouTube. Let's Get Freaky podcast, and yeah, also Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, all of them. Let's Get Freaky.
All right. Everybody, I'm going to put all the links down in the bio below. Go show Tommy some love. You know, share, like, follow. Even if, you know what, even if you don't want to listen, go hit that subscribe. Drop a little comment saying, hey, so it could literally could just be, hey, help boost, just help a friend out. And
Thank you, brother. Yeah.
no problem, man. Thank you for coming on. This was a blast. I
Oh,
can't
thank you.
I can't wait for us to talk here again in a few weeks.
Yeah, man, you're coming on my show in a couple of weeks, and I can't wait, brother. I'm very excited for that.
It's gonna be a fun time, man. Well, you know what? thank you, thank you again so much for coming on.
It's
And
been a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure.
guys, if you enjoyed this, go check out Let's Get Freaky. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, both shows. Uh, and guys, if you or anybody you know has had an experience, done any research or anything like that, and you would like to come on the show and let's just talk, man. Local history, you saw a cryptid, UFO, ghost, anything like that, I want to talk to you. If you're a little nervous about it, you know what? We can talk, record it, and at the end of it, if you're like, I don't want this to be put out, that's fine. I just want to hear you guys' stories. So, hit that link tree down in the bio, or message me on Instagram at Midwest Mythos, or you can check out the link tree down below. Once again, get a hold of me there. And with that being said, guys, hope you enjoyed this week. God bless you all, and we'll catch you again next week. Bye.